Now, let's see, we are talking about requirements, but what is the importance of this requirement? Why we are devoting so much time in gathering the requirement and understanding what is the requirement of the customer? Why we are gathering it and why we are putting so much time on it and efforts? Let's see. Making design decisions without understanding all the constraints on the system to be developed results in a system which fails to meet customers' expectation. So first of all, we have always seen that if any product, not only the software, but any product is designed and developed, it should satisfy or it should accomplish all the needs or all the want of the customers. Only then the customer will be satisfied. Else the customer will not be satisfied if all the requirements are not being fulfilled. So the success of product is dependent on the customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction is dependent on the completion of requirements by the product. So this is how same way it works for the software. So that is why we are saying that if we are going to design the software and develop the software without understanding all the constraints and the requirements, the system or the software will fail to meet the customer's expectations, and it will lead to a unsuccessful software. Second point is cost of correcting errors increases as the design process advances. Means what? Means if we correct the errors in the earlier phases only, then the cost of recovering from these particular errors will be lesser as compared to the point that if we recover or if we correct the errors at the later stage, it will hamper the design process, because the implementation is dependent on the design. Our coding and implementation is dependent on the design, and design is dependent on the requirement. So if there is any error in the requirement, it will reflect in design, and further it will reflect in the development of the product, that is in the implementation or coding. So we should avoid it. An error detected in the maintenance phase is 20 times as costly as to fix as an error detected in coding stage. This I have already told you that the earlier the error is detected, it will cost us less, and the later stage it is detected, it will cost multiple times, right? So that is why it is more important to gather all the requirements at the right time, and these particular requirements should be complete and correct. Now, what is this SRS? We have seen requirement engineering process. We are going to learn the complete process in the next lecture. In requirement engineering process, the input is the all the interaction, all the discussion with different people to gather the requirements. And what is the output? The output is the SRS. SRS represents or stands for Software Requirement Specification. I'm repeating, Software Requirement Specification. Now, what is the Software Requirement Specification? Software Requirement Specification is a legal document which includes technical, organizational requirements, cost, schedule for a product. It is kind of a contract between the client and the contractor. So on the basis of this particular SRS, everything will be designed, developed, implemented, and maintained, right? So SRS is forming the base of the software. Right? Now, SRS is including what? All the technical requirements, organizational requirements. It will include what is the cost for the complete project, what is the schedule, what will be the delivery date, how the product will work, and so many more things. We will see the complete format of SRS. So next thing, it is the output of requirement engineering process. Now comes the nature of SRS. Nature of SRS means what should SRS address? SRS should address all the functionalities, the external interfaces, the performance attributes. This is kind of one, performance attributes, and the design constraints. But the SRS should not include the details of design and implementation, because SRS is kind of a contract between the user, that is the customer, and the contractor. So the user is not concerned what the design will be. He is concerned regarding the functionality, the performance, the constraints, the external interfaces, the attributes of the software. That's all. He is not concerned about the design. So that is why the scope or the nature of SRS will lead from here to here. Now, what should be the characteristics? What are the characteristics of a good software? Software requirement specification. This is the inner level, which is of more important, and these are the second level is the enhanced level. So this is the basic requirement, the basic characteristics, and these are the extended characteristics. What are these? These are correctness. The requirements, the SRS should be correct. It should be complete. It should be consistent. Consistent means no inconsistency should be there. Unambiguous, no ambiguity should be there. Ranking for importance, right level of abstraction. Modifiability, that means if ever needed, we can modify it. Verifiability, it should be verified that we are getting the right product in right manner. Traceability, testability, design independence, understanding by the customer, etc., etc. So all these are what? These are the characteristics of a good SRS. What is the scope of SRS? What I mean from scope, I mean to say that SRS is recommended in important part of software development lifecycle, such as in design implementation. That means where we are going to use this SRS. The SRS is forming the base or foundation for the design and implementation, for complete project monitoring, for verification. Project monitoring, I mean to say the complete checking and managing and tracking the project, maybe through the performance, maybe on the basis of cost, maybe on the basis of time and schedule, right? Verification and validation means what? Verification and validation means whether we are making the right product, that is validation. Right product is validation, and whether we are making the product in the right manner is the verification. Then it is used as a legal documents of agreement. So all these are the forming the scope of SRS. Now, who is going to use SRS? This can be easily understood from here. Design and implementation means the system designer, the system architect, the system software developer. Project monitoring, who does the project monitoring? Manager does the project monitoring. So manager can use it, then testers can use it, and that is what we have defined it. So let's see who can use. Depending on the scope, maintenance engineer can use, test engineers can use, system engineers can use, managers can use to monitor it, customers can use it to track it, and these are the users who are going to use the SRS. So that's all for today's lecture. Thank you very much.